What's going on, world? It's your boy Gemini Brown here, back with another episode of Nalo Kicking Knowledge. Today, we'll be continuing our Venus through House series, and we'll be discussing Venus in the 8th house. Oh, the mighty, mighty 8th house. And before I get into this, I guess I should do a little disclaimer, because now that we're in the next half of the zodiac, which is really about interacting with the collective and other people, is less about us. It's important to know that there are many factors within the chart. I am interpreting based on this position alone. If you really listen to what I say, I always say it'll play out like this, but if there's another influence from this or that, it's going to be different. So please understand that every chart is different. If you have a stellium, it is going to play out significantly different than if this planet was just by itself. If you have an aspect from Saturn, remember what Saturn represents: restriction, limitations. So obviously that's all, and if a sign is ruled by Saturn, it's going to bring that. So it's going to skew the expression of it. So this is an overview. This is based on the planet in this house. All right. So Venus in the 8th house. Oh, I love this position. I think we all love the 8th house because we all love sex. And this is a special house because it's not only the house of sex, but it's the house of joint resources. It represents inside your marriage. I always like to think about it. The 7th house is the wedding. The 8th house is the reality of the marriage. It's inside your bedroom. It's how you're working together. And you know what goes on in the bedroom, right? But the 8th house is also the house of the occult, all right? It is the house of transformation. Key terms. So there's so many jewels within this position, all right? And we know that Venus represents love, beauty, relationships, pleasure. All right, good stuff. So let's get into it. If you have Venus in the 8th house, you are magnetically attractive. Venus in the 1st house, regardless of how good they are at sex, how good they dress, they're gorgeous, right? Venus in the 8th house doesn't need to be gorgeous, doesn't need to be flashy or anything like that. They got that it factor. All right. So if you ever see somebody, you may work with somebody, you may just see them in passing, you're like, damn, like, what is it about them? They look regular as day, but I don't know. They're probably Venus in Scorpio, or they're probably Venus in the 8th house. So this is a key thing. It's a magnetic thing, all right, attached to this position. So these people are, for the most part, lusted after. And as a result, a lot of people can project sexual energy on them. Or within their relationships with people, sex will be a big topic. Now, Venus, of course, is like partnership, relationship. Let's look at it from the friendship standpoint, right? This can represent someone who has a friend who is really promiscuous, and this will definitely be prevalent if you have a 12th house influence in this aspect in here, because the 12th house deals with projection. So if we're not owning our own sexuality, someone can own it for us, right? But sex is going to be a big theme, okay? And it's going to be around us. So we're going to have people, we may have an aunt, we may have a sibling, a friend, somebody who is very sexual, and we kind of learn from them in certain types of ways, okay? So, like I said, it's a magneticism attached to this. Now, this is not Venus in the 5th house. Venus in the 8th house, remember, this is it's a psychic house. So we're dealing with emotion here. Sex is a very emotional thing for these people. Now, if there is a 5th house influence, as the 5th house squares the 8th house, this can create someone who is they may feel a lot during sex, but they could be very free-handed with the sex, all right? But for the most part, these are people who want to really bond over sex. It's a very emotional thing for them, okay? And the sign, not just the sign, the element, I should say, on the 8th house is going to show you the type of sex that you really, really like. So if it's fire, you're going to like that passionate, intense, spiritual kind of sex. If it's water, obviously emotions and things like that are going to be involved. You need to feel a major connection with the person. If it's earth, this is where Venus really gets into, their bag, where it's like, what are you providing me with? Okay, not to say she's a gold digger, but sex has a material value on it, okay? And then if it's air, this is, you're attracted to intelligence. You need a mental connection to get you there. These are probably people who enjoy talking very much during sex, okay? So along with that, especially looking at the element, and what I was saying about the 5th house, okay? The 5th house, you want to look at where the person's Mars is, because this position of Venus can be, like, in certain circumstances, if there's a 5th house influence and a 10th house influence, right? This can be someone who gets into porn. This can be someone who strips, okay? Who's willing to use their sexuality for material gain, okay? Or just for the hell of it, all right? Just like, I want to try that. This is really, really seen with, like I said, when like the ruler of the 8th house is in the 10th house, vice versa, when there's that square between the 5th and the 8th, definitely in the sign of Leo, because, Leo is just like, look at me or whatever, and yeah, so it's a lot here, okay? It's a lot here. Now, obviously, like I said, it represents the marriage, and more than likely, you will marry someone who is well off in some way. If Venus is thinking in earthly terms, like I said, if it's fire, that's somebody who's just like, man, I want to give someone who I feel that passionate connection with. But for the most part, a lot of people who are married to celebrities, have some type of 8th house influence, more specifically Venus in the 8th house, because you're inheriting from your spouse. Or it can just show inheriting from, someone close to you. So if Cancer's here, it could be, you gain an inheritance from your mom, yada, yada, yada. All energy is going to play it a different way. But for the most part, you make money through other people, okay? More specifically, your spouse. Now, creative wise, very, very interesting. And I'll go back and use the 5th house and, Leo influence, something that makes you want to perform. Sex can be like a performance, or there is a need to act out our sexual urges, okay? Because Venus is pleasure, so the sex drive is asking for expression, and a constructive way to use this energy is through something like acting, where you can become a sexy, seductive, character, or writing of that, writing, sexual novels, things like that. So you really want to look at who's ruling this house, how does it want to be expressed, and like I said, most important, how can I constructively channel this energy? In the terms of transformation, the person who, let's say, was maybe like very free, sexually free early on, as they get older, they start to realize the power that comes along with, their sexuality, or I should say personal power. Instead of giving it away, you kind of become more understanding of how to use it to your own benefit personally, right? Not just saying like, oh, I'm going to use this to manipulate this person, which we're going to get to, right? But more so like, you know what? I'm going to, like I said, use my sexual aura to become a great actor or, you know, a great writer, something like that, right? Then on the downside of this position, because you gotta understand, this is the original house of Scorpio, so these people are very psychological, especially within their relationship, and you really don't take offense to this. This is a position of someone who can be manipulative, because all 8th house people, if you're really being honest, you're prone to getting stalkers. You're prone to getting people who become obsessed with you. So someone in this position is going to realize that, oh, okay, I can use this to my advantage. And therefore, you might become a little manipulative and use that Venusian energy to get what you want. All right? But like I said, within the transformation, you understand how to channel this better. Okay? Now, lastly, in the terms of like the occult, this is a great position for being an astrologer, being a tarot card reader, yoga, because it is the house of the occult, and Venus is creativity and it's love. So these people really love, you know, things taboo, things of the occult, and when they really focus themselves, they can really find that they have a talent for these things. So what you'll find is a lot of the best healers have that 4th, 8th, and 12th house influence. Overall, really sexy position, really good position to have. You can use it to your advantage in so many ways because Venus is Venus and, you know, it's attraction. So yeah, this is my interpretation of Venus in the 8th house. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, feel free to do so. If you need a reading, holla at me. So next time, peace.